What is up, guys? Welcome to Truth and Transparency. Good morning. Good morning. Look at all that blue. Good morning, guys. Well, I think some things are going to start making a little more sense for you guys when this is all seen by all of you guys. So let's start by saying good morning to the mods. Thank you for being here. To the members, check out your guys' community post. This is actually up there, so you guys have the document. It's 2 pages. And I'll put up the other 2 pages, which is the order that they ordered it up. It's actually really telling. So we'll get to all that. Good morning, subs. Make yourself green, man. Go green. You guys getting ready for St. Patty's Day? I'm getting ready for St. Patty's Day and for the March Madness. So good morning. Mic drop in. Good to see you. Mic drop in. I love my morning talks with Mic drop in. She's like, how am I going to break down 769 pages? I said, well, I just did it in 2 pages, so you should be good to go. And then she's like, why is stuff in bold? Is it like stuff that's like bad? I'm like, no doubt. The best. Okay, so check it out, guys. We get our first press conference on 11/16/2022. And if you think about it, and you actually look at the work then, the only thing they had to go off of at the presser is whatever they would have compiled to that point. Basically, like nothing of the search warrants, nothing was back. Not even the cell phone tower data. Nothing was back. So that's why it's started off right there, 11/16. 11/16 is like when Fry gets up on the podium and he's literally asked these questions and he's saying stuff like, I have no idea. He like legit has no idea. Now you can either say like that's like, why didn't they put in for the cell phone tower data like on the 14th? They would have had that on the 15th because it took a day to come back. You can ask them that. But on the 16th, they didn't have any search warrants back. And part of that's because they didn't put search warrants in until 11/16. So you could take that for what it is. But him standing up there, this is all that he would have been able to go off of. Neighborhood canvas, video canvas, body cams, surveillance cameras, interviews of friends and family, the 911 call, extraction of the data from the phones, the house evidence, the Sigma Chi people, the lease agreement, the landlord, DNA in the house, but they wouldn't have had that back. It's like DNA is not like visible to the naked. You can't see DNA. I mean, if you see somebody's lip imprints, like, yeah, like, that's going to leave some DNA, but it's not like they had that. Again, with prints, you're not going to have that. Possibly corner club stuff, boyfriends' phones, talking to the boyfriends, the grub truck video, and then the roommates. So that's what you have up until 11/16. So when they did that first presser, when Fry's being asked these questions, and I think the ones that we should really look into is when he's being asked stuff like, why are you guys saying there's no threat to the community? Okay. Why are you saying there's no threat to the community? Again, this just started for those of you guys popping in. So, why are you saying there's no threat to the community? This is an isolated targeted attack. And they said early on in the investigation. Well, early on in the investigation, I'm going to tell you guys something. That's with no search warrants back, and they were saying that. So no search warrants are back, and they're saying early on in the investigation, aka basically at the crime scene, I believe it's because of DM's statements. I believe that it's because there were 2 people that were not killed. That is why they were saying that this was a targeted attack. Because why weren't those people killed? Now, you can say that's dumb on their part. You could say that's smart on their part. You'd have to believe to make sure that those witnesses and those roommates were in fact there. But that's what I believe that they're saying is because Dylan was just bypassed. That's why we believe this is an isolated targeted attack because those people were not attacked. Those people were not, they were there and they were not killed. Okay. Do I think it could be more? Sure. But now let's take a look. This is the order that they got stuff back in. So yesterday I told you guys this is the order that they sent stuff out. Now this is the order that they got the stuff back. Okay. What's up, All Sane? Making it so I got some males in here. Appreciate you. Unless you are a liar and not a male. Just had to. So let's take a look. The cell phone towers, they get back on 11/17. They asked for them on 11/16. I have my 2 side-by-sides here. All right. Then the next thing they get back is Cash App on 11/20. Okay. Also on 11/20, they have their second press conference. They have their second presser. And so think about this. Then you go into your second presser with Cash App information, the cell phone towers, and like I said, all the things that I read off before. On 11/21, you're getting back your Facebook 4 accounts. On 11/22, you're getting back your search warrant on your Charter Communications, which is your router. Let me just scroll this down. Then you're having your third presser. Okay. And again, you guys, we can go back. I'm going to make a video that just does like the question part. And then I'm going to show this after each question. Just because I think that'll help people realize that like looking at his answers now based on the question that was asked, you can kind of gauge like if they even know that. But I remember when he was like, we don't even know that. Like, we don't even know that. When asked about who was in the house and who was there, like when 911 was called, who was all there? We don't even know that yet. Now, see that's a little interesting to me because they should have known that by then, because that's just asking people like, okay, who was here? But when he's asked these questions, Fry is up there like, we don't even know that yet. And I'm over here like, why the hell are you doing a press conference? Maybe you should go to work, buddy. Or maybe you should get somebody up there that may know it. But so at the third presser, all they have is the router, Facebook. Again, they have everybody's phones allegedly, but Cash App, towers. Apple comes back the same. Apple and the camera at the bank come back on 11/23. So depending on what time they got those back, but I mean, you're still, just because you got a search warrant back that day, you're still taking the information and sorting it. So no, Annie, they didn't. They didn't know anything about this is when they got these back. These are the dates that they got the information back. So the Charter Communications is the router, and they got the router. They just got the search warrant back. So then when they would have went through all the data, which it shouldn't take that long. But you're going to need your your data person there to go through that to tell you what everything means. So like when the girls, when they would come home, okay, if their phones, obviously they're connecting to their Wi-Fi. So as soon as you usually get home, or like even like in your parking lot, it'll start connecting to your Wi-Fi. So like why they couldn't change the timestamp on when they got home based even like on that, like when they connected to this Wi-Fi, they would have had that. They make that change though, actually, if you think about it, they make, thank you there. The crow there. Thank you. Thank you. Happy birthday. If you think about when they update their actual paper, they wait until they get the router information. So they get the router information on 11/22. And then if you look at, when you're looking at the documents that they provided, on 11/25 is when they make it official. Okay. And so they make it on 11/25 official that the girls got home at, 1:56 a.m. And I think that they're going off of the router. And that's why they didn't update their stuff until 11/25. Now, the Apple stuff, that's going to be all their phones. Like I said, they wanted that. They asked for that camera footage really, really early on. So we'll see what's on that. 11/25. So on 11/25, they put be on the lookout, and all the surrounding police departments got, as well as Washington State University, for this white Elantra. Now remember, guys, this is not the order that they put in for search warrants. This is the order that when they started getting stuff back. So they got Snapchat. They would go 4 days with the stuff that they gave us. That's the other thing. Is that, do I think this is everything? Absolutely not. No, I don't. Not for a second. On 11/29, they get Snapchat back. On 11/29, they find Bryan's car, but we know, no, it's not. You guys, they're on November 12th. It's the night of Saturday. They wanted the information from November 12th from 9 p.m. until midnight, which is then 12:01 a.m. on November 13th. Everybody was killed on November 13th. They want the video surveillance from 9 p.m. on Saturday night till midnight. Okay? So this is 100% correct. Now, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to make it so that all these people that aren't subscribers can't be in here. That's my fault. Let me change this up. Boom. And 20 minutes. Save. Here we go. There we go. Love it. Oh, feels so much better now. I feel safer. You know, my motto is, fuck them. Oh my God. So last night, speaking of the F word, I stepped in a T-Rev's chat and I was dying because this guy Sal was on panel. And everyone's like, okay, let's get the F-bomb clicker out. And they were counting his F-bombs. I loved him. Whoever that guy is, kudos to Sal. He sounds Italian. I think he even threw in some MFs. So, anyways. I saw you there. Yeah, I was there and I was laughing and I was like, oh my God, who is this? This is great. Listening to him talk about what he thinks Bryan's gonna look like when he shows up in court, he's like, he's gonna have him all pressed and his hair done, and I'm thinking, Sal, what are you talking about? So if you want to hear a funny caller, listen to Sal. So yes. So yeah, when I'm talking about the camera, it's 9 p.m. on November 12th to 12:01 a.m. November 13th. That's exactly what I'm saying. When I say something, I usually mean it. So they wanted the information from the camera from 9 p.m. on Saturday night to midnight. They didn't go later than that. Now, Snapchat, and they found Bryan's car at WSU. And you know what? I'm going to go back because I'm so anal. But finding Bryan's car needs to actually be in front of Snapchat because they found his car at 12:38 a.m. Now, just because they found his car at 12:38 a.m., when did Payne get that information? But I still feel like swapping that. So I will. So then I think about this. And when you look at it like this, guys, what did they have? What did they have? They had surveillance. So they're really going off of this white Elantra. They're going so hard after this white Elantra because the stuff that they had to that point, but they didn't want to ask the public yet. They didn't want to ask the public for help yet. And so they asked for public's help after they have the vehicle. That's still questionable to me. But I mean, take a look at this. I'm going to just make it a little smaller. But now, when you listen to those press conferences, like we're going to do, because I'm going to show you guys, but this is all they had. So presser 1, 11:16, presser 2, 11:20, presser 3, 11:23. They had nothing in terms of data. They could only go off of, they had the phones. They had the kids' phones, whatever they extracted in the download, to the point of 11:23. And then they were going around, like we don't have everything. This is not everything. If you think 796 pages is everything, it's so far not. Ashley Banfield was talking about, 60 places where, search warrants for 60 places. Do you guys know that it's going to be like freaking quadruple that? How about all the interviews in the devices and stuff of like friends? So if Banfield thinks that 60 is high, 60 ain't nothing. But when you look at it in this way, it really puts to me a lot in perspective in terms of what did they truly have to go off of? And then when you mix it with what they were releasing to the public and with the presser, like the actual press or the press releases. So call me trashy. I'm an intellect. I use the F word. Sorry, not sorry. Oh yeah. I drop it when I need to. Especially when I'm like either like pumped or like pissed. It's hard to piss me off though. If you piss me off, it's usually because you're annoying or just exhausting. Just walk away, Renee. Okay, moving on. So they get to Bryan's car, and then Xana's second Facebook account. I believe that Xana had two Facebook accounts. Now this one, it took so much longer for them to come back on it. Don't know why. This was put in on, 1 day later, but it came back 9 days later. Okay. Banner Bank is the second, or is the first financial, except for, wait, it was PayPal up there. Cash App came back. Who would have thought? Banner Bank, now they got the knife. So here, K-Bar Company. Then you have Google on 12/4. Now our first Tinder account comes back on the 5th. Just want to show you guys what was asked for, though, at this point. 11:16, the towers. 11:19, Bank of America, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, the security footage. The biggest, most puzzling thing to me, and it's going to be telling, I believe, at the preliminary hearing, is on 11:20, all 4 victims' Facebooks. We got those back one day later. But the Reddit, Kaylee's Reddit account there was a search warrant issued, you guys, on 11:20. 11:20. Explain to me why you would hold on to Kaylee's Reddit search warrant till 12:01. They put then in the search warrant to hand it over on 12:01, and then they get it back on 12:19. They held on to that for 10 days. Why? I went through every single search warrant that we have. There is not a single search warrant that was held on to more than 2 days. This search warrant was held on to for 10 days, the Reddit account. This trial is going to be so wild. It is. And I want to show you guys that we are prepared here at Truth and Transparency. Let me show you guys why. I want to share another screen with you. Here you go. So we are ready to go. Preliminary hearing, Truth and Transparency for each witness when they take the stand. These are in half sheets, and they get stapled to each legal pad. My shit's so legit. We will know how long everybody's on that stand. We will know what their position is, what their role is, who called them, the witness list in terms of like the order, what witness they were, what day, what timestamp, and then prepared by in terms of depending on if we're taking shifts up in that B. So I learned a lot from the Sheldon Jeter Jr. trial. I learned a lot. Like, if you think you're getting in devices, you're not even, like, I couldn't even bring my phone in there. I mean, you could, but you had to like show them that it was off. You had to give it to the security guard. He checked to see if your phone was off. So yeah, that's just a little tidbit for you guys. So if you think you're getting some, get some pen cams. Yeah, see, like that's, I'm good on getting thrown in any type of, what do they say? Go to Idaho on vacation, come back on probation. So yeah, I'm on top of it. Going back to the info. So the Tinder account comes back. Yesterday, I had said that the DoorDash came back on 12/6. They're hiding when it was actually submitted. So DoorDash comes back on 12/6. The first Tinder account is Kaylee's. That comes back on 12/5. Bank of America, 12/6. Now your second Tinder account, now this is what's interesting, is the Kaylee's, it was put in on again, that Tinder account was, let's see. Oh, they wanted it on 12/5. I'm sorry, on 11/29, and they got it back on 12/5. Then they asked for Maddie's, and they got hers back within a day. So that's why these look kind of close together. But really, this was put in on 11/29, and it came back then. So yeah, Kaylee read it was in 2021 per her family. We're going to get into that. The bold means that that's something that did not come back from a search warrant. It's something that just we know from Moscow Police Department, but it's technically not in the dumps of the 769 pages. So you can't get press conference. You can't get press passes. It's all first come first serve. So I have a tent ready with a generator, and I'm tailgating. So I'm going to have a grill, and I'm going to cook out right there in the parking lot. If I need to get a permit for that, I will. I've been taking some really good notes lately on how to prepare for a public trial to make sure that you get a spot. If you guys think I'm kidding, I'm not. I'll have a tent that is like an actual like canopy tent with the sides. And so it'll be like a little, if you thought Nancy Grace setting up a table outside the front of the house was something, wait till you see what TNT's setup will be. You guys will be there for the whole thing, so make sure you just tune in here, and I'll have round the clock covered as much as I can, because anybody can take notes for me. So if Bella wants to be in there and taking notes, but there's some stuff you just want to hear for yourself. But I'll reporting nothing but the facts. Nothing but the facts. I'll make sure that Enan's there flipping the burgers and the hot dogs. I'm gonna feed the any of the students that are around. We were talking about feeding them for free if they came by. I think the students should tailgate for truth and justice. I think that's what they should do. They should tailgate for their fellow students to see to it that justice happens. They should I'd be proactive. That's how I would do it. But you should advertise on campus. I think they should. I think that they should really go hard for their classmates, their friends. I think it would be really, really smart of them as a community to rally like that. And it could take away the stigma of, showing what really a vandal is. So please tell me Enan is going to teach you how to juggle. No, he's just going to be out there flipping the sticks. I don't know. Him and Bella are best friends. They talk about the weirdest shit. So I said, be careful. He might be an accomplice to murder. So yeah. You guys, I'm not kidding. If I do something, I do it big. I do it right. Going back to this. Now on 12/7, we're all asked about the white Elantra. Now this is the thing that I think that's out there that we don't know about, and that's going to be they had this white Elantra that they saw speeding off. They're putting it on like whoever was in that damn car knows what's up. We need to talk to them. They either basically did it or they're going to they saw something, but we need this. But they waited. They didn't tell the public anything, and it didn't really leak. So in terms of if you're being asked, do you know anybody that has a white Elantra? I don't know how that all flew, but we get asked on 12/7. So I went ahead and I looked at what do we know up to that point? What do they know up to that point? And this is what they would have known up to that point. They would have just gotten back Bank of America, DoorDash, And when they went DoorDash, they went from January of 2022 to present day. They wanted to know everything about any order that happened at that address, which was interesting versus going for individuals. So I think that also tells you maybe who really ordered the DoorDash, you know. Lana, do you have your media hat yet? No, but wait till you see my media gear. It's sick. It's sick. If you thought JLR had sweet media gear, woo! We got bikinis and little booty shorts that say meaty on the butt. You guys can buy a pair. Can you see Nancy Grace in a bikini out there with media booty shorts? Security. Lana, you're on fire today. Thanks, Christina Davis. I appreciate that. So, I think it's interesting that they were so under the impression that this knife was a bought knife from a local store within the past year versus something that somebody's had for a while. And then I thought about it more. And it's like, well, if you're planning on killing somebody, you can't take the chance of, your DNA in any way, shape, or form being on that knife. So you would buy a brand new knife that you would have never touched without gloves. So then your DNA is not on that at all. So it's actually smart if you don't use something that you've had for a long time. And then therefore it's not important to you, so you can discard it. You know what I mean? But then does it become important to you because you killed 4 people with it? So again, I look at everything, from how would you defend Bryan Kohberger? Is Bryan Kohberger guilty? And how do you prosecute him? As also I look at what were the police doing and how do those press conferences truly look? Oh, thank you so much there. Is it Inga? I want to say that right. I can't attempt that last name. I'm sorry. I don't want to embarrass myself or botch it. So I'm just going to say thank you, pretty lady. Very much. Appreciate that. So what I was saying is fuck. What was I saying? Yeah, the DNA on the knife, if you buy it, you're not going to have anything on there. Should you be able to easily discard it because it's not sentimental? Well, then it doesn't become sentimental because you just killed 4 people with it. And then you look at what the police were doing through the first 2 weeks of an investigation. You look at what information was coming back based off of search warrants. And then you look at what they were saying to us. And then you look at how you would defend Bryan Kohberger. And I look at all of this now. They're not going to release stuff to us guys for the search warrants of other people. So do you think that they, out of the 796 pages that you guys have seen so far, just so you guys know, do I believe that there's search warrants that were executed that have to do with other persons of interests? I do. And that's going to be super, super important for the defense. But do I look at this and based off of what they're giving us their road to Bryan Kohberger. Okay. They're giving us their road to Bryan. In my opinion. For example, I want to know if Ann Taylor is struggling to get all of the discovery. or if it's getting broken off like this, how we're being broken off. Did Nancy just throw it at you guys? Aw, Nancy. Congratulations, new members. Welcome to Truth or Transparency, where we make it rain with memberships. Good morning, everybody. So just really think about this, guys. First, second, and third press conference, they didn't have anything, in my opinion, other than witness statements, and they were literally like, we need to find this white Elantra. Also, they were processing a scene on 11/13, 11/14, 11/15. First press conference 11/16. Then they went back out there to process the scene again. They got the towers back on 11/17. But guess what? The towers, guys, it would have been a dead end because Bryan Kohberger would have not come up on the tower search. So that's going to be an X. Cash App. All they showed that they went for with us was they went for the individuals' Cash Apps. But then what they probably did off of that, because if you looked at the actual issued search warrant, it was anybody that they interacted with in Cash App. They were also getting their information. So you have with your Cash App on 11/20 that you get back, you're getting back their Cash App information and anybody that they would have dealt with. So that's going to cover a lot of people. Okay. Then they have the second presser on the same day they get the Cash App information. So they wouldn't have even had that to go through. Facebook accounts on 11/21. So, and guess what, guys? They're not using Facebook the way that we use Facebook as older adults. So but Facebook and Instagram they were one and the same. And the way that I'm reading is that I don't know if every account looked like it got the Instagram back or if it was just one account. It's very weird. And then boom, the Charter Communications on 11/22, that's your router. And it reflects for me that they waited until they got the router to then pinpoint what time the girls came home. Well, guess what, guys? They would have also known what time Ethan and Xana came home if they're going based off of when they connected to the router. They would have known if anybody else was in that house, if they're there often, when they would have connected to the router. On 11/22, they would have also known when the surviving roommates, okay? Check this out. If you were to leave if I left my house for just 10 minutes to go to the store and grab, some Fireball, I come back, I would have disconnected from the router, the Wi-Fi. I would have came back and it would have had me connecting to the Wi-Fi, whenever it was within reach. And I have this high powered crap Wi-Fi that's like a home Euro or whatever the hell it's called. And I can get my Wi-Fi really, really far. And in fact, it messes so much with my Bluetooth because I'm still on my Wi-Fi. So they would have had that on 11/22. So the question is, what everybody's been asking is, did Bryan Kohberger connect to the girls' Wi-Fi? And is that how they got on him? Well, let me tell you when that would have been. They would have known that information at the earliest on 11/22. And that's if they would have broken down all the data and would have seen. Now, remember, you're getting IP addresses. Okay. I had to do this with the Chris Watts case. I took down that whole router and you're getting IP addresses. And so you're going to get all these IP addresses that would have connected. Then you're taking the IP addresses and then you're going to see who they then link to. You're going to submit these IP addresses. But now if the Gonsalveses are listening to this, then what they can do is they can see on 11/22, when were they ever told that, oh, don't worry, they were told something like somebody connected to the Wi-Fi. Well, they wouldn't have known that possibly until 11:22 or after. So just put that, what if you don't keep your phone connected to your Wi-Fi on a regular basis? Often don't use Wi-Fi with my phone. Yeah, it's just going to show when you do connect. So, and also just because you're not connected to Wi-Fi, guys, it doesn't mean that you're not at home, because that's all circumstantial. This is all circumstantial. This is circumstantial evidence. So it doesn't prove anything other than it's providing circumstances. What I mean by this is, let's say that Bethany or Dylan left that night at 4:00 in the morning, and they got picked up for a booty call, and then they went back. So they leave. What it's going to show is, it's going to show when it returns back and hops on. It's not going to show necessarily. Now, if you left your phone home, it's going to show that it didn't connect an extra time. But this is all circumstantial. The digital evidence is always going to be circumstantial, but it's going to be pretty big, just like you guys saw in the Murdoch murders. So, yes, and Taylor and Potts, 100%. I was just going to get to that. But guys, guess what? His phone was off, so it never connected to the router during the commission of these crimes. That's why what I'm saying is they would have reached two dead ends with Bryan Kohberger. So the first dead end would have been the towers. He wasn't on the towers, so that's your first dead end with Bryan Kohberger. The second dead end would have been on 11/22 when they've taken that information in. It would have came back not possible, because his IP would have never connected to that Wi-Fi because his phone was off. Did Gina just buy some memberships? Thanks, Gina. So hopefully that helps there, Annie. I was just getting to that. Okay. So think about these dead ends, guys. This is really important. Dead end number 1 on 11/17, the tower information would have never had him. It's a half a mile radius that they were looking for. It would have came back negative. Then the second dead end would have been on 11/22 when Charter Communications comes back with the router information, and you take that router information on 11/22, it would have been another dead end. It would have never connected Bryan's phone to the router. Okay, so that's 2 dead ends. The tower was first because he didn't have his phone and didn't connect any. What it means by that is that his phone never was used. So what they did is they asked for, when they did the towers that they wanted, they did the T-Mobile one, they did the AT&T one, and then they did the inland tower. And what they were looking for was from 3 to 5 o'clock in the morning. They wanted any IP user number that was active and hitting off of a tower during that time frame. So then they would take those, see who they belong to. Okay, well, right there, negative. Then the second negative on 11/22, they would have gotten the router information, would have came back negative. Okay. If your plane is if your phone's in airplane mode, it's not going to do anything to the router. Just like it's not going to do anything to the towers. Now, is that helping people understand that now we're all the way to 11/22, the day before the third presser, and there is no way possible that they have anything on Bryan Kohberger except if you have a name. Okay, so on 11/22, by the time they would have went through all the information with the router, and I can go double check, because just because it came back, let me double check that. Just because the search warrant came back, they have to prepare the records then, and the records were prepared. Let me see. Charter Communications. I have everything, girls and boys. That would have been on oh, shoot balls. Wow. Well, they went to go seal it on they turned it in to evidence on the 30th. So that took them from the 22nd. All inventory was prepared for all the items received. The information received was placed into the evidence. The evidence was taken in and put in from Charter on the 30th. So that's even going to take you further. So they would have had, when they went through all of that information and then prepared it all for basically the evidence room would have been on 11:30. So those are your two huge dead ends, which then brings me my question, which is, it makes sense to me that this is what doesn't make sense though. They were able to on 11/25/2022 go to the official record and say that the girls were home, meaning Maddie and Kaylee, at 1:56, and they used the router, in my opinion, to corroborate that. But they weren't able to use, why couldn't they use the router to know when Ethan and Xana came home? And what I mean by that is, when you look at the pressers that they were putting out on 11 on December 5th, they changed their mind. So on December 3rd, they say investigators have determined that Ethan and Xana were seen at the Sigma Chi house. And just because they were seen doesn't mean they were there the whole time. So they were seen there. And they change it because I believe because of the router. Because the router, in my opinion, is probably showing different things than them being there for the duration. You know, if you're connecting to the router at different times between 9 and 1:45, then how could you be at Sigma Chi the whole time? So it's going to be interesting for me with Ethan and Xana, because you should know based on when they're coming and going if they're connecting to the router. Now, again, that does not mean that it's full-blown proof, okay, but it helps. You'd want to really hone in on that if you're the defense. So I believe that they couldn't get to Bryan Kohberger yet. So on 11/25, they're like, okay, let's put out this alleged be on the lookout for White Elantra, but not give any years. Again, crazy, weird. Which either tells me that you didn't have the year yet because you didn't have an FBI person on it yet. And they hadn't determined it, or you hadn't got, all that information. So I'm going to go back over those notes that I have. But then it comes back on 11/29. Now all of a sudden you have Bryan Kohberger that you came across his his name, which would have come across a ton of people that have white Elantras. So then how do we get from this? How do we get from just because you found out about Bryan Kohberger on 11/29 and that he has a white Elantra? How do you look back and see, wait, but there's nothing digital linking him to the crime scene. Okay, think about that. And then why wouldn't you talk to him? It's like you knew who he was and you couldn't talk to him. You get what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to break it down as best as I can. So on 11/29, when you would have found his car, I mean, what's the big problem with? So this is what they're doing though when they find the car. 11/29. And actually, I need to put that in there. But they have DoorDash, Bank of America. Now the Tinder account number 2 comes back. They ask the public for help with a white Elantra. And then the public goes wild with that. And they're over here working on, okay, they got their K-bar back, the Amazon stuff. They got their Discover card back. It's the victims plus 5 redacted people. Who are those 5 redacted people? That's on all of this digital or on the financial stuff. Then you get the PayPal Venmo back on 12/12. Okay. And Extreme Networks comes back on 12/14, which was trying to get into Kaylee's laptop that was locked, that they were able to. Then a bunch of the financials come in between 12/16, 12/19. Possibly even before that, because they were being really weird about certain pages not being there to know that. And then this was the big thing that I was talking to you guys about on 12/19. Think about how crazy this is. Kaylee's Reddit account comes back on 12/19, all right? At the same time that they are talking to Washington State University about Bryan, finding out, because if you go and look at the PCA, okay, they're talking to Washington State University, but they also issued to Washington State University a search warrant. And it's redacted, like even to the point of I can't even tell the exact dates, times, and stuff like that. But Kaylee's Reddit account coming back on 12/19. That date is just really, really interesting to me. Because then it leads to the next movement that we have is then the AT&T historical data on Bryan. Now remember, they would have said that also, let's see, when they came across Bryan and he fit the description, which who doesn't fit a description like that is just wild. Everybody in, I'm telling you, Idaho and Washington fit that description. And it's objective. It's if I think somebody's fat, or I think they're skinny, or that's like everyone has a difference of opinion on that. So we get to, this is my aha moment for everybody out there, is they got on Bryan and stayed on Bryan without ever questioning him. Okay? Like they questioned Jack Decor. They questioned Jake, Adam, Showalter, you name them. Hunter, the Sigma Chi people. Okay? There's cops there all the time. So but then you get to this Bryan guy who allegedly you just get his information because you find his vehicle. Just like you would have found a ton of vehicles that were white Elantras. And you don't question him. You don't question him? Why? So you get the Reddit. Remember, Payne says that when he got the information about Bryan, then he looked him up and he saw that he had a ticket. And so then he looks up his ticket. And then from his ticket, he found his phone number. Okay. But you couldn't have got to any of that until 11/29 or after. Okay. Allegedly. So did you look up everybody else's parking tickets or anything to do with a ticket to see if they had phone numbers that you could use? And did you go get a search warrant to have historical data on that number? You can't just go, if you guys read these search warrants, trust me, like 796 pages worth. I broke it down here into like literally 4 pages total, which is when they asked for the search warrants, which is when when they got them, and I put them in order based on that. So then I could see what they had to work with and when they had to work with it. And it's going to be added to once we keep getting more information. I'll keep adding to it. But as a defense attorney, you would love the fact that your client, it was 2 dead ends. So like when you actually would have gotten his, then think about this, you get his information and you see that, okay, Bryan Kohberger, his phone didn't hit the tower. His phone wasn't on the Wi-Fi. But then you still stay on this person because you're like, well, how are we going to, I mean, so many people have white Elantras. Well, we have to follow this. We have to break down this white Elantra and everywhere that it went. But they were on that so early on to breaking down everywhere that white Elantra went, which is why they were saying, look at your surveillance cameras. If you have one on any of these roads, even if it doesn't have anything on it, we need it because we're eliminating which way he could have went. Okay. Right? So if I was to turn over my cameras here at my place, okay, boom, we went from this time frame to this time frame. Okay, no white Elantra pass. Well, guess what? That doesn't mean that it didn't happen though, because cameras do miss things. Like that's just what happens. But what it doesn't make sense to me is that you're trying to track him going back to WSU, and he doesn't. He goes back. He doesn't go back. He goes a completely opposite way, allegedly, and takes on some crazy ass loop. Okay. And you're able to only know this because he turns on his phone. But you don't know that he was coming from the homicide. You don't know that. That's circumstantial to the point of like very much so. No, it's not even circumstantial. It's not even circumstantial. This guy wants to plow my drive. He wants to do some work. I love him to death, but so it's not even you're then trying to say, okay, well, how was he there? Because remember, you don't have the phone. You don't know that you don't know any of that yet when you're doing this. You don't know if you're Payne and everybody sitting in a room and you're looking at the dates here when you get information. Okay. You don't have the historical data to be able to look at anything to do with his phone until 12/23. So you were able to eliminate all of these other people that would have been in their orbit to focus in on him like that. That's what that tells me. Again, let me just scroll down a little bit. Because you have to look at when they have stuff. You can't say, oh, they got it from this. Like, what? No, they don't even have that yet. So again, when they asked for, look at this, they asked for, look at that, asking for Kaylee's Reddit on 11/20, but they hang on to it and they do not turn in that search warrant until 12/1. Why would you hang on? What are you doing? That's the only one that you've ever hung on to, is this one right here. Because this is when you ask for stuff, but this is where it turns up that it comes into play, which is right here. Because you did not serve the warrant until 12/1. When you had it, you obtained the search warrant on 11/20, but you didn't turn it in until 12/1. Why? Now there's your $1 million question. That's important. Very important. You did that with no other search warrant. Why would you hang on to that for 9 days? Okay. And then right here, you're able to present, Payne was able to present probable cause to get Bryan Kohberger's, the phone number that was on that ticket, to enter that number and look at, from the day before to the day after. What did you have that? What gave you probable cause to be able to do that? Think about that. What gave them probable cause to that point to be able to do that? And what did they just get their hands on right before it? You guys see that? In order to get a search warrant, you have to have probable cause to be able to search something. So, like, remember Ashley Banfield even said that, wow, you were able to get historical records. You're able to get a search warrant for that. How? What did you write down? And that's what's still sealed. That's the, what did you say? What do you say at that point? What do you have? Well, he didn't hit off the tower on your router. He didn't hit off the tower during. But now now the router they did from September 14th to November, it was the present day. So this is what they would have had, though. I'll tell you what they would have had is once he found out on 11/29 when he would have got the information, and then he ran his name, he saw his picture, he then saw that he had a ticket and that he wrote his phone number on that ticket. He then could have taken his phone number. He wouldn't have known the IP address of that, so he couldn't have even done it that way. To be able to then go look at the router, or he could have, or that would have been done illegally. So that's not even possible for him to do that. I just look at different ways how you could possibly get to him, and you're not. All the digital ways were X'd. Dead end. Now you get his picture because you found his car on 11/29. Okay, great. We have this guy. Who is he? He goes to WSU. Okay, he's a PhD student. Okay, so just call him and ask him where he was. But even at that point, when you would have looked him up and you would have saw that, you would have saw his phone number did not connected at any point in time during the homicides. And then he's like, "Oh man, look at what he does for look at what he's a criminology. Oh my god, this is like." So you would immediately think that somebody involved with criminology is, oh my god, he's a sicko. He's a sicko. We got, you know. He's a sicko because he's in criminal justice. What it screams to me, or what they want everybody to believe, guys, and I don't know if it's there. I don't know if the link is there. But if you look at this and you're looking at this and you see 1219, Kaylee's Reddit comes back. And then we know that he did whatever he did on Reddit. When they ran also his name and everything, they would have seen, if they were asking the chief, if the chief was paying attention at WSU, they would have been like, oh, Bryan, we know Bryan Kohberger. He's in our grad, he's in our grad program. I spoke with him. He wanted to do XYZ. He was all into like cloud-based forensics. That's what would have to happen. So when you want that type of talks to happen, you have to seek that out. And to me, this was allegedly, remember, the community's safe. This is an isolated targeted attack. The community's safe. But did they really believe that at the time that they said that? Thank you there, Bud Ford. So when you look at it from what sticks out to you, and they were able to get that historical data, and Payne did that search warrant. This Lawrence Mowry guy did the other ones. And then so also think about this, because I haven't even put this stuff in yet, because I'm going to every little thing that happened is going to be entered into this. And remember, they knew that Bryan and his dad were in Colorado. They knew that he had left on 12/14. Then Brent Kopaka is shot in the brains, 1 bullet dead on 12/15. They were following him since 11/29, in my opinion. But off of what? Off of his name being coughed up. Because if his name wasn't coughed up, based on everything that I have just at this point, you could eventually get to Bryan Kohberger, eventually. But you would never be able to get to Bryan Kohberger as quickly as you did. No fucking way. No way. I don't care if you have 100 people, because that's what makes it worse, is when you have a bunch of people, like, that's like your projects, like, no, and then you try to put together, and it's just a mess. Tracking down a white car in a haystack. I will say this, 12 different financial institutions to this point that we have were subpoenaed, or were served with a search warrant. 12. 12. And in all 12 of them, financial stuff came back from all the victims. But I want to remind everybody that, guess what they do to us in college? They have these tables set up where they, hey, sign up for our credit card. So I remember my years in college, looking back, when you, just because you sign up and you get approved for something, like doesn't mean that you took it on. Okay. So because you do it to get like, here you get like a free $25 gift card, or you get like a free bag, or whatever the hell they're giving away. But in college, they do that like at the beginning of the year, every year, like they have you here. So I look back at what I did in college, and I had like an Abercrombie card. I had a Gap card, and I had a bunch of, I shopped a lot. So that's like what kind of cards I had. And I didn't think about that. And then when I started thinking about what I had, I just thought about my college experience, and they put up those tables. And so you're filling out all these applications to get all this crap. But it doesn't mean that you used it, that you took it on. You did it to get like the free crap, but yet they would still have a paper trail of your name in their database. So take it for what it's worth. I look at this too. I look at from 11/16 to 11/29, and you guys, that's so quick to get to Bryan's car. Like here, take a look at this. Just look at this piece of paper from this angle. Right there. First presser, second presser, third presser. Towers, Cash App, Facebook, Charter Communications, Apple, surveillance camera. Be on the lookout. Bryan's car. Look at that. Again, this is the order that everything came back that we have right now. And when you look at it like that, if you can't sit back and think to yourself, holy crap, they got to him so fast with no ties to him, or to no ties. Because remember, he was just supposed to be some deranged stalker that was infatuated with one of these people. Thank you there, Lindsay. Appreciate it. So when you look at this, let me read this to you guys again, this part. I think it'll help you. On November 18th, they had conducted 38 interviews, 500 tips. 2 roommates were unharmed. They were determined to be seen at the Sigma Chi party. 11:50 a.m. was a 911 call. Grub truck guy not involved. 3 dumpsters were searched. 2 roommates not involved, cleared by Moscow. Roommates out on the town until 1 p.m. at different places. Sleeping through it. Jack D was called by Maddie and Kaylee, and then all of a sudden just stop at the same time, which is a good hour to an hour and a half before they say the murders happened. And on November 19th is the first time that they're asking for surveillance from 3 to 6 a.m. of all cameras with or without anything on them in that area, like that was south of Taylor. Again, so 38 interviews were conducted between November 13th and November 18th. And out of those 38 interviews, so if I was Ann Taylor, I would take the first 38 interviews that happened between November 13th and November 18th. I put every single interview in order. okay, and dates and times. And out of those first 38, I believe that the person that cuffed up Bryan Kohberger's name is in the first 38 people. And that was, the autopsies were done on November 17th. November 15th, evidence points to isolated targeted attack. So I took notes on everything that they've ever said. Think about this. I can't even believe they did this. Think about this. So that's in the immediate circle. Yeah. So I speculated on who I thought the first 38 was, but throw out the family because they were never even interviewed. You guys, they already had their person, and they throw us on December 7th, the public, to go looking for this white Elantra. Okay. Which I think, hindsight now, looking back, they made a huge mistake by doing that. And on November 20th, they were looking for context to the events of pictures that they had. I think I know why they hired the private security company. They hired the private security company on December 2nd. Okay. I believe that they needed to free up their manpower that they were using for the house, that they were using 24 patrol people for, is they were doing everything in like shifts and whatnot. But on December 2nd, when they hired this new security company to watch the house, they went from having 24 patrol officers working this case to, on the 3rd of December, to only having 6 detectives and 5 support staff. They no longer had the patrol of, they were using 24 personnel. That dropped off December 3rd. I believe that that's because they were watching Bryan Kohberger. They were using what they were doing with the house, and they were using with so it'll be interesting. I'd pull those records and see if in fact that ever stopped. If those workers actually ended up stop working like at the house, and what were they doing? I'd be looking into I'd be listening to a bunch of CAD calls in, and where people were, where the employees of Moscow were that are police officers. Also, were they utilizing, WSU? Detectives are also seeking additional tips and surveillance video of any unusual behavior on the night of November 12th into the early hours of November 13th, while Kaylee and Madison were in downtown Moscow, and while Ethan and Xana were at the Sigma Chi house. Anyone who observed unusual behavior near these areas or has video surveillance is asked to submit their tips. Again, all bullshit. What's up, Sleuthy Goosey? How you doing there? So, what do you guys think? I'm gonna look at the chat now. Curious what sticks out to you guys. Yeah, please remember to hit the thumbs up. Definitely make yourself known. Appreciate it. Tuesdays are like my weekends. That made me laugh. That made me laugh. She says, you shuffling through court documents should be ASMR. So yeah, November 13th to the 18th is 38 interviews happened. What sticks out to you guys? When did the owners of 1122 King LLC get an attorney? Is there anything about the owners of the house lease? I don't have any of that information. Who would use their own car and phone to do this? Really dumb, out of control. 100. Ann Taylor will bargain for a plea deal. No trial, says Art. Well, I can tell you this. Bryan ain't taking a plea deal. She can say all she wants that she's going to do that. And I personally don't think that she is. I think that for selfish reasons, even alone. JLR's emails show it. Well, then I'll have to get those from him. Thanks, Turd Ferguson. Actually, I wrote him, I emailed him, and it said it came back as saying that it wasn't a valid email. So I must have had the wrong email. Because I said, toss me those documents. He read them last night. Oh, I popped in at the end. 600 more people. Please give the thumbs up. Hell yeah. Thumbs it up. So let's see. Does this change your mind about some of the press conference? Some of the press conference and Fry saying, I don't even have that information. Is that interesting to see that all we have is the USB external hard drive for Kohberger's phone, Dropbox. Oh, and then, I almost didn't tell you guys this. This is big about the Tinder accounts. Okay. So they put in for Tinder account number 3. Okay. And it was a Tinder account that was only from March 1st until March 31st of 2021. Okay. That was Tinder account 3. But when they put this in, they put in for the Tinder account 3 on right here on 12/22. They didn't get that back, the Tinder account 3, until 1/26 when they got the Tinder account 4. Right there. What illegally obtained info could lead to Bryan? What are all your thoughts on a Dropbox? I think a lot of TA stuff would be in a Dropbox. Pressers were a show. But they didn't know anything. That's the thing. I mean, they just didn't answer the questions properly. Like, that's part of an ongoing investigation. We can't disclose that. Period. We don't even know that. I don't even know that right now. I don't even know that right now. What? Like, huh? So yeah, they're pressers. We know nothing and have no one. What's his credit score after using all those unions and banks? These aren't his unions and banks, you guys. Oh my god. Wait a second. Is that what people think out there? These aren't his banks. No. All of these financial institutions, there's 12 of them. And they were put in so early. They are the victims, as well as 5 unknowns on the one and 3 unknowns on a couple of the other ones. I want to see the probable cause for the historical, to be able to get that historical data. Let me ask you guys another question. If Bryan Kohberger is the guy, okay, and he's behind bars, and he's like a nobody, just a freak, then how is anybody in danger? Who's in danger here? Like, what people like, Bethany or Dylan or anybody that would have said his name, who's in danger? By you saying what you saw, if Bryan Kohberger is arrested and behind bars, and he's been behind bars since 12/29, okay? So when you hear things about that, people can be in imminent danger, officers, and who's in imminent danger once the police or once Kohberger is arrested? There you go. Exactly. If nobody was in danger when BK was still free, who could be in danger now? Exactly. And I think that that's going to Potts makes a good point here. If you're talking about, you could potentially, if the fraternities coughed up anything and you're not supposed to like rat on each other. So if that came out and that brotherly thing is not to do that. And so like you could be in danger, but guess what? That's not from Bryan Kohberger. That's from what? That's from your damn fraternities having the most ridiculous shit. You're in danger when it's your own frat chads and sorority underlining still running around, maybe. But Um, I think the point that I really want to hit home here is if we were not in danger when he was out here, nobody's in danger, guys. Moscow, Pullman, you guys are totally fine. Okay, this is an isolated, targeted, but we don't have a suspect. Okay, we don't even have persons of interest, but this is an isolated, targeted attack, and it's only because they didn't kill two people that they could have. What? Okay, maybe they didn't know that they were there. Maybe they weren't there, but everybody's fine. But then once we arrest this person, now everybody's in imminent danger. You guys, it doesn't make any sense. Brent was certainly in danger. Yep, he was shot. The cops are in danger of public backlash once they realized the cops had him on their radar early on, but didn't even interview him. Not really, because I just showed how actually like it was dead end. These were so just because you give me, hey, there's this really creepy dude. His name's Bryan Kohberger. I mean, like, I don't know. Okay. What's his number? Do you have his number? Yeah. So they look it up. Okay. Yeah. He didn't hit it on any of the towers. Whatever. It's dead end. Like, just because you say this person's name, you know how many people say people's names probably, or like, showing a bunch of pictures of parties. You're going through Snapchat. You're going through TikTok. You're going through all this crap and looking at all these pictures. Hey, who's this? Who's this? You'd be asking the roommates a bunch of questions like that. Hey, who's been around? Has anybody gone on dates? Has anybody had any problems with anybody? Does anybody owe anybody any money? Does anybody break up with anybody? Fights, you know, who you've had problems with, you know, did you pay your landlord? I don't know. But you can't sit here and say that they would get backlash from the community. They got to Bryan Kohberger hella fast, in my opinion. Hella fast, in my opinion. I don't think the incel world worships Bryan Kohberger. I just completely disagree. Is Bryan Kohberger even an incel? Yeah, but that's already come out. Turd Ferguson says for 500. The public would be pissed to hear that the cops were begging for info on the car when they had one the entire time that they were tracking, yet never interviewed him. This was about, they said that it was whatever was going to be coming out of the house, the apartment. We need imminent danger. What? Nobody's been in danger this whole damn time. Now we got imminent danger. We don't know what's in there because we don't know what Bryan has destroyed because of what Bryan knew. What do you think? Let me ask you guys this. What do you think Bryan Kohberger was doing this whole time that he was in Washington? What do you think he was doing? $100. Sleuthy says, where's their TikTok accounts? Where's the other roommates and victims' Tinder accounts? Where's BK's Facebook, Instagram, Reddit? Where's the warrant for historical data for life of BK's phone? 100. I think that that's there. I'm just curious of the dates. What do you think he was up to? How do we know BK was not interviewed? Um, I mean, the cops haven't come out and said that, hey, we didn't interview this guy. They didn't say that. But based on the information, one would think that they didn't. He was stalking. His studies, teaching, etc., whatever he normally did. There you go. I think he was finding out things that landed him in a whole heap of trouble. Interesting. I'm just curious what you guys like. So here's a guy that they think they're trying to tie. Even if they have a name, we have to tie him. How are we tying him? Remember, I've been saying this since day one, that it's like, here, I'm going to give you a name, but you're going to have to figure out a different way to get him, because you can't use me. You can't use me because you're going to blow up whatever it is that we're working on. Think about it as like, a sting operation or whatever. And we've been putting so much time and money into this, what we're doing over here. And I can't give you this information. I can, but I can't be the one that you go through to use it, because then you're going to blow up this thing that we've been working on. So here's the name. You need to find another way to get to him, though. And so you start trying to link him. But then how would this person know even to give the name Bryan Kohberger? That would put him into being involved in something that you would even know the name Bryan Kohberger, that you would even be able to come across that. So I think if I look at this and you think of everybody that's in their tight, close circle, you want to be eliminating, you want to be getting as much information as you can in the early days from asking people a bunch of questions. And to get to a complete stranger, and then people are going to say, well, he wasn't a stranger to them. Well, he just got to the damn area. Who isn't a stranger? Just because you're around somebody a couple different times doesn't mean that you know them. How does a 28, 30-year-old person kick it with 20, 19, 20, 21-year-olds? Think about that. You guys, also, this is the thing, is you have to go with what they have. You can't say, well, this probably happened. This is the order that shit went down in their investigation. This is it. So how do you get to Bryan Kohberger based off of this? You get to his car really, really quick. And then if he only had like a thing for like, you know, Kaylee or Maddie, and you're in a stalking situation, you stalk somebody like and you isolate them. I know this sounds crazy, but like I don't want to say it like in like a weird way, but then you also like take your time with them. You don't go in there and into a house that you want to because this person won't date me. I'm going to stab all these people. I just woo. And then you look at the type of person. Do you think that Bryan's a disciplined person? Well, I don't know what disciplined person drives all over in a vehicle that's their own for what would be close to 45 minutes before they would be committing a murder, and is make sure that their vehicle is seen on all these cameras that you would have been surveying and knowing about. Like you just can't have it both ways, guys. You can't say that he would have known about all of this, but then the day that it came, like it's kind of like basketball. You practice, you practice, you practice. You're really good in practice, and then why would you get into a game and just shit your pants? Like you just don't. If you're either shitty or you're good. I'm sorry. He's regimented, not disciplined. I disagree with that. The other thing is that we're taking all this stuff that people are trying to allegedly say about Bryan, that he, you know, that he got fired from work. And that he was having all these disciplinary issues, and he was literally just there. They just started classes and he's getting written up within a couple days. Exactly, he wasn't. I don't believe any of that crap. And I don't think that WSU leaked anything. That's a lawsuit waiting to fucking happen. So when you just look at it from, hey, this is what they went for. These are the search warrants. This is not everything. I believe that there's so much more. So much more. I know that all the forensics would have came back and that his DNA wasn't on anything in terms of like his DNA is not in the system. So even when you get the sheath back and you say, oh, there's touch DNA on this again, and that's going to be nothing at both initial digital, the towers, boom, dead end, the router, boom, dead end. And that takes you to 11:30. 11:29, which is, oh, wait, but imagine that. Right when the routers would have came back as a dead end, oh, we find his vehicle. We find his fucking car. What? So could it have been that we were asking people, hey, who drives a white Elantra? So the first 38 people, they were asked who drives a white Elantra. We found this white Elantra. Who drives a white Elantra that you know? And then you would have given a list. And I just think the questions are going to come up on the stand, which is going to be, why did you talk to so-and-so when you found out that they had a white Elantra, but when you found out that Bryan Kohberger had a white Elantra, you didn't talk to him? If you're doing an investigation just as is, when you would have came across him, you would have questioned him. And then when I hear people say, well, no, I wouldn't have questioned him because I would want to sneak attack, surprise a guy like this. And I'm thinking, wait, what? Just because you find out that he drives a white Elantra, how far in depth are you going to go in looking into this guy because he has a white Elantra? Okay, yeah, so here, boom, he got pulled over. Okay, we have his phone number. Look, see if it hit off the tower. Nope, it didn't hit off the tower. Okay. Oh man, but he really fits the mold. Look at him. He's 6 foot, bushy. And you would have gotten back the Facebook accounts. You got nothing to work with. You're working with absolutely nothing. You got Cash App, if anybody would have Cash Apped him. You're basically at his car with whatever people have said, and with them trying to track down the whereabouts of the vehicle and the movement of it. And then, okay, we can pinpoint a couple of them on Washington's campus. But because remember, they don't get to that historical data until 12/23. But yet they know that he leaves with his dad. They go to Colorado. They get seen on some camera there. Then he takes a completely different route than he would have if he would have went the other way, which would have been less time. And why would he do such a thing? And that's a hell of a lot to know in based on a guy having a white Elantra. He went and got his hair cut. He went to the doctor's afterwards. He went just grocery shopping the next day. Was he wearing gloves when he checked out of that grocery store? And then they just swat his parents' house, like, because they think he's, like, I mean, in the middle of the night. Because they believe it's safer. They believe it's safer. So it wasn't safe. So he's not safe. I mean, make up your minds. Lynn, I know we get a double header today, but I just don't want you to stop talking. I know I'm going to be ending this soon. I will tell you this. If Bryan's team doesn't do work, he will lose. If he didn't do this and they don't do work, I mean, and I'm not talking about lawyer work. I'm talking about this grunt work I'd be asking every single person when they took the stand. I'd be getting everybody that had a white Elantra. I'd be calling their asses in there. I'd be like, were you interviewed? No, you weren't. Oh yeah, you were. Oh yeah, I was asked about where I was, and and think about it, this is just search warrants. So like they're going to have stuff that, got turned over without a search warrant. You just got to think about it. If you're dead end, and now you're given this guy's name and you're like, someone's telling you, this is the dude and you need to figure out a way. Because nobody stays on somebody that doesn't have ties to somebody like that. Like you'd have them there. You're not like, think about it, guys. Remember they said, oh, the freaking hoodie guy didn't do it. Boom, right away. Who else didn't do it? Boom, they're clearing people publicly. Well, why? How soon did they clear hoodie guy? Whoever the first 38 was interviewed gave up Bryan Kohberger's name, period. I'd put my left tit on it. When did they, hoodie guy? At this time, on November 18th, at this time in the investigation, detectives do not believe the two surviving roommates or the male in the grub truck surveillance video are involved in this crime. November 18th. Additionally, online reports of the victims being tied and gagged are not accurate. The identity of the 911 caller has not been released. At this time of this release, detectives have received nearly 500 tips, which are being processed, investigated, and cleared. 38 interviews have been conducted with individuals who may have information about the murders. And you know why they put it like that? Because the families weren't interviewed yet, and that was to help soften that blow. 38 interviews have been conducted with individuals who may have information about the murders. Anyone with information about this crime is asked to call 208-883-7180. The Moscow Police Department has 4 detectives, 24 patrol officers, 5 support staff. The FBI has 22 investigators in Moscow, 20 assigned agents located out of Treasure Valley, Idaho, Salt Lake City, Utah, and West Virginia, and then 2 BAU analysts. Idaho State Police, 20 investigators, a public information officer, ISP Forensic Services and Mobile Crime Scene Team, 15 uniformed troopers to assist with community patrols. And then when they get Bryan Kohberger, they don't go and say to anybody like, hey, we want anyone to come. Well, they did say, hey, we want anyone to come forward that has the information on this person. But if you didn't see that presser, then why not put your happy asses back around there and go around and say, did you ever see this guy around? Because remember, he's a stalker. Don't stalkers follow people? Again, anybody telling Mr. and Mrs. Gonsalves that Bryan Kohberger's phone connected to their router the night of the murders is lying, because Bryan Kohberger did not have his phone on him to connect to any router. Okay. Every dead end due to digital evidence was every possible way to connect Bryan Kohberger on the night of the murders to that house was a dead end. The towers, the router, dead ends, period. So, but they stayed on this man because one of those first 38 interviewed gave up his name. Period. There's just no way around it, because you're not getting to him, and you're not asking for historical data on him on 12/23 and going into his background like crazy. Without somebody coming forward in some capacity and saying, for a reason to, if they did not question him when you would have known that he had a white Elantra, how do you answer that if you're a police officer on the stand? So, hey, Officer freaking Frack, hi. You came across Brian's white Elantra here. Did you try to open it? Did you get inside? It was a bloody scene, wasn't it? So you didn't think maybe to get your hands, hey, do you care if we take a look at your car? We would just check in to see, do you care if we take a look at it? Because that car would have blood all up in it. I mean, early on, wouldn't you be able to see if that car had just maybe been shampooed or like clean to the point of just, ask somebody where they're at. So they're going to take the stand, and I'm going to be right there to hear how they answer these questions. So you came across his car. Did you touch it? No, I just called it in. And then you left? Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm supposed to do. They're investigating. So I said I came across a car. Okay. And then you ask the other person, you came across that car. Yep, I came across it 20 minutes later. Did you hear on the radio that he had come across it? You guys just both came across the same car that nobody's been able to find. And it's just supposed to be like, be on the lookout, like pay attention. I guess when cars are being driven, but here you decide to go in through the parking lots of WSU. Okay. You find it. Yep. I just called it in then too. So within 20 minutes, did you call in the FBI tip line? Because they weren't asking for a white Elantra. The public was not even knowing about this. So how did you get your information if there wasn't like a tip line to call in about the white Elantra? Because that was like a hush hush thing. So did you call up Payne? Did you email him? How are you supposed to get that? I just gave it to my supervisor, and then my supervisor did it. Okay. So then the supervisor's going to get up there, and they're going to have to, did you guys ever pull to see how many white Elantras were at on campus? Yeah. Okay. So did you supply them, meaning Moscow, with that list? Did you ever supply any of your workers with that list? Were any of those people that owned white Elantras that were on campus, were they ever interviewed? And if you say no to this stuff, what? But then why are you asking to look for a white Elantra? What do you want to do? You have a police officer coming out and saying, guys, we want to talk to the person. We want to talk, not we want to stalk, not we want to follow and survey. We want to talk to the people that were driving the white Elantra. Didn't they question Dylan and Bethany? Well, yeah, they did. Okay, so when they came across the guy that owned the white Elantra named Bryan Kohberger, why didn't they ask him any questions? No, we're not going to question Dylan. We're not going to question Beth. We're just going to watch their movements. Let's just see if they have any tickets. No, 4 people were murdered. You're looking for a car that you think sped away. And here you come across it and you see that he's a PhD student. And the first thing that I would think about is, fuck, he's a PhD student. Okay. Oh, it's in criminology. Okay. Like I wouldn't be like, oh my God, he murdered these 4. Again, this is me not knowing anything about this person. If nobody brought me his name and oh, okay. Hey, Mr. Kohberger, I would go down to WSU. Hey, go to his office. Hey, Mr. Kohberger, how are you? You can lie to him. Remember, police can lie. Hey, so WSU handed us over. We're investigating the quadruple homicide. I'm sure you've heard of it. Oh God, yeah. And we have a list. You're actually somebody that owns a white Elantra. And we're actually looking for a white Elantra. We haven't said this publicly to anybody yet. So like he wouldn't know at that point that you're even looking for a white Elantra. Okay. So you came across Bryan Kohberger's car on 11/29. He has no idea that you're even looking for a white Elantra. Okay. So I can see that you can't go and ask him questions. You can ask him whatever the hell you want. Okay. But when you put it out there publicly, they're going to say, well, we put it out publicly to see if he would come forward, and he didn't. Well, you put it out there that you're looking for a 2011, 2013, and he owns a 2015. So what do you want him to do? So, but yet you told all the officers to just be on the lookout for a white Elantra. Just like when did you ask, Hunter or Bethany or Dylan about a white Elantra, of who owns a white Elantra? Did you wait until you put a BO? Did you wait until you put out a be on the lookout for the white Elantra to ask about the white Elantra? As that's a really important question. We didn't tell anybody that we knew that. So we weren't asking people who owns a white Elantra yet. Because we were keeping that, because that could actually be a reason. So it'll be interesting to see when they started asking about this white Elantra. with other people. BK's neighbor probably called it in. He didn't call it in. WSU called it in. Love you guys. Maddie was in Seattle March of 2021 on Tinder. Again, rewind it back, play it back. This is just to show this is the order that they did the investigation. When they came across stuff, because you can't invest anything until you get the information. In terms of the search warrants, you could, oh yeah, they filed, for 60 search warrants. Well, when did they get them back? And blah blah. Anna, I'm curious as to why you are so hung up on how law enforcement got Kohberger's name, because Bryan Kohberger wouldn't know anybody, in my opinion. What relationships did Bryan Kohberger, if he's such an incel, like you guys say, what relationships did he form with people? Who would give up the name Bryan Kohberger when he just moved to the area and would have interacted with people? If you look at the search warrants, they only went from August to present day. So August, September, October, and then a couple weeks in November. So you got 3 months and 2 weeks. So for them to think that Bryan, in my opinion, when you would come across his car, it would just be a simple, like, you would just question him. Why couldn't you question him? Good vibes, Stacey. What if Bethany and Dylan that did the killings, and that's why there's no blood, because they had 8 hours to clean up and shower? Their DNA would be all over that place. Yeah, I don't. Calling all cars. Why are action figures so expensive? Always. Pokemon's even more expensive. So for me to say how you got to Bryan Kohberger is, how would any of these initial people who would have said it? Who would have said the name? Because I don't see the digital connect until you just have to see how soon they're doing all this stuff. How many other white Elantras were turned in, and obviously we know how many came in after the fact. So, but you wouldn't question if you had found the information you need, and we don't know if they tried calling him or talking to him. I completely disagree. If someone just tells you something, you don't take it as, if you found the information you need, what information would be that? What would that be? Oh, Bryan Kohberger did it. How would you even know that? Were you there? No, but he was just talking to me about it. Just, who's Bryan Kohberger? Oh, he's some PhD student. What? Yeah, he just moved here from PA. What? Yeah, I don't know. We ran into him a couple different times. We scored some, I don't know, pills off of him, and he just seems like the killing type. Go check him out. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it'll be interesting. But I think it's everything to do with this case, because anybody that would be investigating it from all these angles, you would keep on getting blocked by getting to Bryan Kohberger. So you'd have to go deep. And so my point is that when you have to go so deep for something, usually that comes a lot later in an investigation, because there's other things that are popping up that you would that would seem like, okay, everybody was going crazy over what? Everybody that's a boyfriend and the hoodie guy and but how quickly they were able to rule those people out. It's very interesting to me. Just because someone says, you ask them a question, what'd you do last night? Whatever you say, oh, that sounds great. All right, thank you so much. Have a good day. No, you take what they say to you and then you go and you see what's up. So wouldn't it be beneficial for them to have asked Bryan Kohberger what he was doing that night? So for example, to me, if you would have asked him what he was doing that night, do you own a white Elantra? Okay, yes. What were you doing on the night of the murders? There was a white Elantra that was speeding away. Oh, I was sleeping. You know what I'm saying? Or did they question him and he said, oh yeah, I was out in Lewiston. I was camping. I'm just curious if they questioned him, because what would make more sense is if they did question him. That's just what makes sense to me, because why are you asking for all these tips and you get them, you come across the tips because you're going to follow up with them. That's the whole point of them. And guys, this is not everything, but this is the order of everything that they put in 600 and or however many pages. This is the order of it in chronological order. I compiled it basically into 4 pages. The dates of when they asked for the search warrant, and then the date of when they actually got it, and how they were able to go about their investigation. And this does not include that things would not be search warrant for. So like anybody's, statements in their phones. And I think there's a ton of stuff that was issued a search warrant that have to do with other people. Yes, in an investigation, you want to rule things out. That's what you do. Thanks, Art. Appreciate that. So, appreciate all of you guys. I'll be back later on for the night owls at 10. I got some bombs for you. So I told you guys I was waiting for today to drop those. And you can tell me what you think. But remember, all the things that they tell us, it's also, I think, more important what they don't tell us. And I think it's a digital world, right? If you had nothing to do with anything, yeah, here, take this, take that, take this. Then you go look at the PCA and they said, we picked 4 to 425 because of Dylan's statements and because of the surviving roommate, because of their dumps on their phones. So what was on their phones mixed in with Dylan's, what she had to say, as to pick that the time of the crime was 4 to 425. So whoop, whoop. Again, thank you for all the super chats. Thank you for the mods for being in here. Thank you for the members. Thank you for the subscribers. Appreciate all of you guys. And if you are a member, these 2 pieces of paper I did take pictures of and I put them in the members only community section. And then I'll drop the other 2 pieces of paper that I did for when they were actually issued. So go ahead and to grab those. I love you, Ellis. Thank you there, Mandy Joe. I think this is the only way you can break it down. It's not incorrect. Have a good day. That's straight from what they put out. How do you become a member? There's a link. Maybe one. There you go. Mic drop and just dropped it. You can hit that, I believe. BB mommy. Woo woo. It's not too long before preliminary. Defense better get working. Gina Marie. Girl, I just laugh when I see her name now. And then in tonight's live, I will be dropping the panel. So 3 minutes, strictly timed. So I'll see you guys back a little bit later. Save my voice. Save my voice. Oh, thank you. That was very kind. Thank you. You guys will all appreciate it as well. Deuce.